Lost Media production. Today we have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Cate Holahan. Her debut thriller, Dark Turns. Hi! It's great to have you here, Cate.
Oh, great to be here.
Her debut thriller, Dark Turns, published by Crooked Land Books, just hit shelves this week, and we're very excited to celebrate Pub Week. And of course, we have this right here. I want to let viewers know that we are giving away copies of the book, so please stop by BookTrib after the chat and enter to win. You will not regret reading this. It's wonderful. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the book and some of the great reviews that it's been receiving. So it's been hailed as a mashup of Black Swan and a particularly juicy episode of Gossip Girl by author Charles Dubois, and Booklist also said that it will appeal to fans of precocious teen conspiracies like Sarah Shepard's Pretty Little Liars series, as well as to fans of grown-up plucky heroine must fight for herself thrillers. So some amazing praise from people out there. Cate is also an award-winning journalist and former television producer, and her articles have appeared in BusinessWeek, the Boston Globe, The Record, and on websites for CBS, MSN Money, NorthJersey.com, BusinessWeek.com, and CNBC. So, yeah, Cate, before we begin our questions, can you tell us a bit more about Dark Turns and catch us up to speed?
Well, I actually say that Dark Turns brings Black Swan to boarding school. The protagonist of the story is Nia Washington. She's a young African-American ballerina who fought her way from the inner city to the stage at Lincoln Center. When a strained foot and bitter breakup pushes her into the wings, she retreats to what should be an easy teaching gig at an elite Connecticut boarding school to heal. The beautiful Lakeside campus proves the worst place to launch a comeback. Shortly after arriving, she discovers the drowned body of a co-ed. Drawn into the mystery of the girl's death, she becomes submerged in a world of gossip, cheating, and lies, where hyper-competitive teens will stop at nothing to hide their secrets. And when she begins to fall for a fellow teacher, she starts to wonder if she can even trust herself, especially when she catches him in a big lie. So Nia must use all her talents to protect her pupils, vindicate a wrongfully accused student, and ultimately save herself. It's a fight to the finale, one dark turn at a time.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So there's the pitch. There he is.
There it is, folks. So I wanted to know what compelled you to write this book. Like, what kind of brought you to the point where you're like, I have to, tell this story.
Right. Well, it's funny. I was working on. I knew I was going to write a thriller, and my daughter is 4. Well, at the time she was 4, and she was taking ballet classes. Mm-hmm. And I went in, and the teacher had her like up against the cement wall with her legs spread, and she was pushing against her back. I'm like, look, she's going to do a saddle split, and she pushes, and my kid gets it, and she's in a full, Russian split, and she looks at me and she's smiling, and then she starts crying because saddle splits hurt,
Yeah.
And I started to think, well, what does it do to these young girls to push themselves so hard physically and mentally before they have all the emotional tools to deal with that kind of competition? And so that I'm a worrier and a thriller writer, and that starts going around in my brain. And
plants the seed for sure. Now, can you tell us more about your background in journalism and how it might have helped to shape Dark Turns, like kind of the angles that you took and your research and everything? It's very interesting.
Sure. Well, as a journalist, you always report out everything. You research way before you put a word down on the page. And I really took that same ethic to novel writing. I had worked for BusinessWeek for years, and after that as a producer at CNBC. So I decided if ballet was going to figure into this novel prominently, I really needed to get myself in a dance class. And I had never danced before. So I enrolled in an adult ballet class. Most of the folks were either retired ballerinas who danced with small companies or former dancers in college. And I walked in, and the teacher looks at me and she says, I know why you're here. At the time I'm thinking, well, how does she know that I'm researching a novel? So I said, how do you know? And she says, well, you're a marshmallow, but don't worry, I will make you a rock. And so that really set the tone, because I realized, wow, there's a different standard. I had lost all the baby weight from my second kid and was feeling pretty good about myself.
Yeah,
and just Put the perspective right there.
Do you think any of your classmates? Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Do you think any of your classmates caught on, or were you kind of just talking openly about the book, like the further in you got?
I'm pretty open. I think people are always happy to talk about their life experience. They know that you're writing fiction. You're not going to, take their life whole hog. You're just going to use it to inform your characters.
Exactly.
And so no, people were very open, and they told me what auditions were like, and the competition they were exposed to in college, and what it was like, maybe trying to get into a company and realizing you weren't going to make that top tier, and then the decision of do you go to college or what do you do with your life. And so I used all of that to really, I think, create a richer novel.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of dedication for 2 years. Yes. What do you think is Sorry. Go ahead.
It was a year when I was writing and then selling the novel, and then I continued to take it for the year that I was going back and forth with my publisher with the editing suggestions. So, which was good, because sometimes they said, well, we need to know more about this, and I would just go into class and go, I need to know more about this. So.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite ballet position, or just anything really hard that you feel like you kind of nailed, or at least you came far?
I barely nailed standing up straight. The carriage of a dancer, I'm sitting like a big slob, but they stand like there's a rod straight up their spine, which is great, and that's actually how you keep your muscles alert and active. I know, stuff like that. So I think at the end, at least, I can appreciate what even goes into standing like a dancer. I did. I was in the recital at the end of 2 years, way in the back, and I did get my arabesque down. Mind you, it wasn't an arabesque that you'd ever see a professional do, but I didn't fall over, so I felt, pretty good about it.
Engage in the core muscles.
That's right.
Now, Dark Turns is definitely a thriller, murder mystery, but what other genre would you classify it as? Do you think it falls under any other genre?
I guess there's a bit of romantic suspense in it, because it really is there is a love triangle. There's the main character is kind of deciding between two guys, and I think that informs the storyline.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first book that you've really worked on, or was there anything before this that you've been working on that maybe you'd go back to? What's kind of your writing history?
I think all writers have their trunk junk, which is funny. I was on the radio, and they were saying, that sounds like a pair of jeans. Like Kardashian's next line is the trunk junk. But
oh my God.
They
could sell it.
Maybe I should. Yeah, that's right. But so I had a couple novels that I had one novel in particular that had gotten me an agent, but didn't sell. The protagonist was young and defied some of the conceits of the thriller genre. So, but I don't know if I'd go back to it, because right now I have another novel coming out in August, and that I'm supposed to do. That one is the beginning of a series, and so the sequel to that I have to work on this year, and I'm also working on another standalone thriller. So I feel like, onward.
Fantastic. Yeah, onward and upward. How long did you work on Dark Turns for a total, was it a year, a couple months, several years?
Well, I guess the writing of the first draft took about maybe 4 to 5 months, and then there was another 8 months of, well, then obviously my agent had to sell it, so there was some downtime in there. And then there was about an 8-month period back and forth with the different edits, and you get it back and you tear out plot lines and change it and then give it back. And so I think probably the whole process all in was about a year and a half. But I think now that I have a publisher, I'm thinking it should be shorter, because it won't be that great.
Yeah. Do you have any, did you get out there and pitch your book, at different conferences and events? Do you have any stories about that, or, advice to people writing that might want to know where to go to pitch their book and get it kind of out in the open so they can find an agent and find a publisher?
Well, I love conferences. I think I just think that going to them is really the way to get your foot in the door. I went to the Algonquian conference in New York City, and there I met my agent, Paula Mounier, top notch. And I think, like anything, when somebody gets to work with you a little bit and see how you play with ideas, and it makes them more interested to see your work. And then you really kind of get a fair shot. Whereas I think sometimes blind querying, agents get thousands of blind queries, so it's very difficult for them to say, even if they think the story sounds good in an email, they're investing a lot of their time to actually read a whole novel, and they also have to represent their actual clients that are making the money. So they don't have an easy job. And I think that the more you can actually get your face out there and come across as an intelligent, driven person, it certainly helps.
Absolutely. Now, did any of your family members provide critiques of your book, and how did that go in general?
Yes, it really depended. I had family members that loved the book. There's always my father who's like, "Why do you want to write thrillers anyway?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you think I should write?" And it's like business books, right?
Oh my God. That's a dad response,
my family,
right?
Yeah, my dad, but but I think that my family has been really supportive. I've been very blessed to have that. I do have family members that will read first drafts, and my brother and sister in particular will say, we liked it, but like this part you really rambled, and so sometimes they save my editor from having to deal with the raw me.
They're like, we know you. We can hear you talking, and that's awesome. We have a question from the audience from Savvy Bookworm. Hi, Savvy Bookworm. Was there anyone in your past that really inspired you or pushed you to write, to start writing, or was it always a natural thing?
Well, my grandfather, who actually recently passed, was a writer, and he was an aviation writer, a journalist, and he published his own magazine, Aviation International News. But when I was a kid, I would always see him kind of running to the next place and writing stories, and he really had a passion for the written word.
Yeah.
And I actually worked for him. My first job when I was 13 was at the magazine, translating pilot speak into English. And if anyone's ever heard of pilot speak, it's half in code. So it was definitely an education, but I think it helped really solidify that. And I think also I always just loved writing. When I was young, I wrote a book when I was 7, and my mother, being a Tiger mom, sent it into Scholastic for publication, and I was rejected, obviously. But I did. The rejection letter was very nice. I don't remember who sent it. They said, "Keep on trying." Which is good to think that publishers don't try and crush 7-year-olds' dreams. It's really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
They wait until later.
Yeah. That's a great story. Now, in terms of your characters, you have some really wonderful, well-drawn characters. Who would you fan cast to play your characters for Dark Turns the movie? Are there any actors and actresses that you would imagine in the roles?
Yeah, well, I think in the lead role, I'd want a dancer. There's a lot of dancing. I'm a big fan of Misty Copeland. I just think she's amazing, and I followed her story before, and I think the character of Nia Washington, who is an African-American ballerina, and has really had to work very hard, harder than many of her peers to get where she is. I think she would bring a lot to the role. I think Elle Fanning would make a great Aubrey, in part because she just looks so perfect in everything that she does. So there you go.
I hate her.
I don't mean that as a criticism, really. Like, I wish I looked perfect half the time, But I bet she grocery shops and looks perfect. But so, and I think those are the two main ones. I guess maybe Peter, I might put Michael Pitt, because I think you need someone who is alluring, but at the same time seems like they have something else going on.
There's something else going on, yep. When he flies into angry rages, I love those moments with him. You're like, something's up. What was the creative process like choosing the cover for Dark Turns? Was that the first cover that you chose?
It was not the first cover. The first cover turned out that it was like something else that was already on the market. And so the publisher went back and came up with another cover. I did not, I mean, I think Crooked Lane does an amazing job. I didn't have much say over it other than to say, oh, thanks. And there it is. But I love it. And I'm very happy that they picked what they did.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Savvy Bookworm is back again with another question. Are there any crime TV shows that you're currently hooked on?
Yes. Well, I love Castle. I think that, who doesn't love a show where the writer plays a prominent role, right?
So good.
I love Mr. Robot. I think that's fantastic. I know that there are some. There's let's see. I plan to watch the ballet one. The not Skin and Bones. What is it called?
Oh, I don't know.
It's coming out. It's not out. Yeah, but anyway.
Anyone watching knows that. Tell us, because I can't remember that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember it.
And I love The Good Wife.
Yeah, I haven't checked that out yet, but it looks awesome.
I think it's really
Mr. Robot, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic, wasn't it? I know, and the lead character is just really pretty to look at.
Always applause. I was like looking around and I noticed you have a blog called Words with Wine, and I'm sorry if I outed you about your blog, but I love it. Yeah. Where you review books and you suggest a great wine pairing, which is fabulous. Which wine would you choose to pair alongside Dark Turns? Is there one in mind?
Wait, now I have to really think. It's funny, I've never done this for my book.
Oh, Savvy Bookworm said, I think the show is Flesh and Bone.
Oh, thank you.
That's what she thinks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're right. That sounds good. I knew there was bone in it, but, and something similar to something else out there, I was thinking, it's Rag and Bone. And I'm like, no, that's a designer. Which is something you have to think of when you're actually titling your book is, how many titles can I come up with that are going to have a Google that buries it because it's something else.
Exactly.
Things I didn't think about when I was actually writing the book, but now I think about it.
Yeah. So
I know. I'm still thinking about that Cabernet. Well, let's see. I think maybe a Jordan Cabernet because it's the younger version of Silver Oak, so it needs to mature before.
Yes.
Before it reaches its full potential, like many of the characters in my story.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. You also have a book trailer out, which you sing the song for it with your band. Can you tell us about your book trailer and kind of your musical, side projects, all that cool stuff?
Sure. Well, I went to Princeton and I was in the Princeton Tiger Lilies a cappella group, so shout out to them.
Awesome.
And after that, I went on Craigslist and I answered an audition for a singer and auditioned. And it was actually funny because I walked in and there's a bunch of these guys and, you have this moment of like, I don't know any of you. Am I doing the right thing? But it turned out to be great and they're great friends to this day. And so when I started to think about how can I publicize the book, and I think dance is something that's so visual that really to do a trailer seemed like a good fit. I thought, well, I need some original music, and I play piano and I sing, so I wrote the song, and my guitarist came and added a guitar line, and then we hired a ballerina, and my cousin, I just graduated as the valedictorian of her high school and now is going to film school. Was willing to shoot it for me and edit, so I was lucky.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely brings another dimension to the book. So it's very cool. I love book trailers. It's such a fun thing to do. And the ballerina was fantastic. Yeah. She did a great job. Any upcoming events, signings coming up in the next, weeks, months?
Yeah. Well, you can go to my website, cateholahan.com, and I have a whole list of events. But this Saturday, I'm signing at the Town Bookstore in Westfield, New Jersey. That's a great independent bookstore, and I'm going to be there from 2 to 4 p.m. And then later in the month, it's on the website. I'll be at the Haworth Library. I have some more radio appearances and some podcasts.
Oh, wonderful. And when you're not busy writing, because we know that you have a lot coming up, what are some things that you like to do, in general, just relaxation?
Oh, who needs relaxation? I'm type A. We don't relax. We just do more projects.
I don't do that.
I occasionally have a glass of wine. That's like my relaxation.
And blogs about it. Yay.
Yeah, that's right. That's called multitasking. That's
yeah.
I drink and write. But yeah, that's going to be a quote that if I ever become well known, it'll be like, she drinks and writes. Yeah.
It was on BookTrib.
My kids I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I spend a lot of time with them. I try to give my husband attention every now and then, remind him I'm still here. And I love singing. We do a lot of, it's kind of a musical family. My husband plays guitar, and so we jam out on our house. So
that's awesome.
I probably just lowered my property value because anyone buying next door is like, oh, those are the people that jam out.
They jam out all night long and drink wine. Amazing. Who are some of your biggest influences in terms of authors? Anybody that you always look for on the shelves?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, when I was a kid, who kind of got me into the thriller genre was V.C. Andrews. I mean, talk about just playing. I probably read those books before I really was of age to read them, but a kid's worst fear is that you can't trust her parents, and she just nailed it, right? And then after that, I love Gillian Flynn. I've read everything she's written, and I just think she's amazing. I think she's able to create such nuanced, interesting characters that really jump off the page and are not necessarily likable. You wouldn't want to be their friends, but that's what makes them all the more interesting. I think Karen Slaughter is amazing. Her latest, Pretty Girls, is fantastic book.
Definitely.
I think Stephen King is just such a wordsmith, and obviously the pace of his writing and his output is incredible. Mr. Mercedes was a great book, obviously won a lot of awards in the past year. So many. I've just read Patrick Lee's Runner. That was fantastic. I mean, talk about a book where you really just you feel your heart running the whole time because it's the character is just always under threat. But sometimes you read those books and you feel like, really, he's running from the guns again, but you never feel that way with him because he's just so good at creating twists and turns. And I mean, I could go on and on. I love Scott Turow. I mean, Presumed Innocent is like such a, so many people want to be thriller writers because of that, probably including myself. I could go on.
I have a bookshelf behind me. Would you like a tour?
That's right. One of many.
So when you've been to the conferences in the past year, have you had any run-ins with authors where you had like a total fangirl moment? Or are you still waiting to see that person, that one person? Has there been anybody that you've been like?
I'm such a weakling in that, like, I will talk to anybody until I'm your fan, and then I'm scared of you, which is really so kind of pathetic of me.
Yeah.
So I've been to all these conferences, and I see Karen Slaughter, and I'm like, I have not had the guts to just go over and say hello. I'm like, I just need to, because there's this moment where you're like, but what if I come across as just a needy, crazy person, and she'll be like, thank you, and I don't know. I feel like I need to just keep admiring her from a distance, like
from afar.
That is not endeared me to
you
her.
Go right up there. Now, you mentioned what you're working on next. That's your series. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, like the general premise and,
sure.
Just a little, We'd love to
So
hear.
it's tentatively titled The Widower's Wife.
Okay.
Writers, you have to say tentatively because until the book actually prints, you never know.
Yes.
It's a story of an insurance investigator trying to figure out what happened to this woman who fell off a cruise ship. And there are a few options. He's wondering, did she commit suicide? Did she try to defraud the insurance company for a life insurance policy and then die in the process because they won't make it? Or did someone kill her? And there are a few options there. And I think that I like the way it's told. It goes back and forth between the insurance inspector's point of view, and also the woman who fell off the cruise ship and about a month before.
Right. And it's terrifying that has actually happened in real life.
Oh, it happens more than you think. I mean, it's slightly more rare than getting struck by lightning. But
right, but it's still
think about 5 people a year. Although most of them are really inebriated. So
that's true. Turns out.
Cruise ship railings.
Yeah. The last time I was on a cruise, we were below deck, and then I'm walking around on deck. I'm these rooms are so nice, but they're right next to the railing. It's it's scary. It's very.
Yeah, I went on a Disney cruise, and my kids loved it, but I kept thinking I wanted to jump overboard, and that kind of. Yeah. My kid, it wasn't Disney's fault. My kid was teething, and I was just sitting there I wonder.
Now, this is a series that's coming up. So are you a plotter or a pantser? Do you just kind of go with the flow, or with the series, did you map it out completely, or are you still kind of coming up with new things for the final book? Do you have everything laid out? What's the process with that?
Well, I've mapped out the second book completely, chapter by chapter. I reserve the right to change it, so I plot everything, but if the characters seem like the way they're growing dictates different things, I'll rip it up and I'll replot. But I like to have that roadmap. I like to know that this is the point I'm trying to get to. But I don't force it. If the characters if they're not going there, then I'll rip up the plot.
Exactly. So you're a plotter, basically. I hear so many different answers. Some people are I'm a diehard pantser or a plotter, and then the other day we had someone who was I start out as a pantser and then I plot halfway through. I'm that's what? How can you do that? She just goes back and redoes. Everybody has their own little technique, which is interesting. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hope writing my 8th book.
Yes.
Or maybe more than that. No,
You'll have a collection of your series.
That's right. Box. And then I'll do this interview, and they'll all be in the back there, with the covers out.
Yeah.
So yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly where I see myself.
Awesome. And we have so many young characters in your novel, and it made me think, if you could tell your teenage self anything, what would it be? Because they are going through some things in this book.
Oh, yeah. My teenage self was such a workaholic, and I think I liked that about her, because I don't know I would have trusted her judgment to do much of anything else besides homework and extracurricular activities. So I think that's good. I guess if I could tell my freshman year college self some things, it would be to be a little bit more wary of everyone who comes into your life, and
yeah, totally.
Particularly boys, because it's funny. I think that some girls are raised to kind of be natural pleasers. We want to just make everyone happy, and I think I definitely had that. It takes a while to gain the maturity to say, well, I can't. I need to kind of have my lines in the sand, and actually, that's a problem with a lot of the characters in that these young women get into trouble trying to please other people to the point where they themselves break. And so,
yeah, and I think it's interesting that Aubrey's parents are totally kind of, I don't want to say too much, but they're not in the picture. So it reminded me of a few characters I've read before. Yeah, I really liked her character.
Well, I think that, I don't believe that people that are damaged just wake up that way. And so, and I also think that one of the scary things about a boarding school is, as great as teachers can be and as nurturing, your parents are really invested in just their particular children, or in an ideal situation, they would be. So I think when you remove that element and you really have someone raising themselves, you see how people turn out differently.
Yeah, and she's dealing with all the pressures. Certainly. We have one last question from the audience. Have you ever thought about exploring any other genres? Are you definitely a thriller girl to the end?
Yeah, I love thrillers. Oh, I like the immediacy of like somebody might write it, or even if, my second book, it's I'm not a blood and guts person. It's really more of a traditional mystery, but I like the puzzle pieces of that. Some people write, emotional, coming of age tales really well. I think for me, I like to plot more, and I probably don't want to allow myself the self-indulgence of that. I think that I need to, to know where I'm going. And
yeah, I hear you, absolutely. Just a little fun thing that I like to do at the end of our questions, because we're actually at the end. It goes by really fast. I have a rapid fire. So usually my rapid fire questions are sexier, but this is Thanksgiving edition because when I wrote this, I was hungry. So
okay.
We're going to red wine or white wine?
Red.
Yes.
Cabernet.
Red all the way. Yeah. I'm a Malbec girl. Mashed potatoes or stuffing?
Stuffing, like cranberries.
Apple pie or pecan pie?
Apple. So traditional.
Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
On my mood. Right now I would guess vanilla, but
I love vanilla, right? So, and then after you're done with your Thanksgiving feast, are you into the football or watching the Christmas movies early? What do you gravitate towards?
I probably retreat back to my book while I go into the food coma, and I don't have to entertain anyone. That's when I'm saying, like, oh, is everyone in a tryptophan coma? Good, I'm just going to be...
That is the smartest thing I should take advantage of more people when they're in a tryptophan coma. Just be like, yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah, so I can work that into a plot of another book.
Yeah, the tryptophan conspiracy. Amazing.
Right, well, thank you so much, Amanda.
It's been fantastic to have you here. And everybody stop by BookTrib and enter to win. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.